Prejudice, to prejudge, an instinctive atavistic wisdom carried down across generations, imbued in individuals, groups, tribes, and cultures which share those prejudices, and is also important for survival and also for taste. Taste being the sum total of those prejudices which are and should be adhered to, nurtured, should be a part of our pride and our self-acceptance. And while we need to set our prejudices aside at certain times, for example, if we are involved in science, philosophy, art, at times we set them aside, but we know them and put them back again when it comes to day-to-day life, politics, and so forth. Our day-to-day life living must be guarded and protected by our prejudices. They are the sine qua non, the indispensable condition, the great necessity of our existence. They are, to use the jargon, existentially necessary. And therefore it is no surprise, is it not, that those who would seek to destroy cultures, divide and rule them, tell us that our prejudices are wrong and bad, and we should be guilty of them, and we should rid ourselves of them. Yes, we know why they make these perverse claims, because they wish to destroy our cultures. So we should therefore be steadfast in holding on to our prejudices. What made me think of this today was the stripping of the titles and status and styles of Prince Andrew, reducing him to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And it struck me quite swiftly that the reason Prince Andrew found himself in this position was because he no longer listened to the prejudices of his ancestors. His ancestors rarely reached out beyond the aristocracy, the Protestant aristocracy. They rarely went outside those narrow borders of prejudice, and quite rightly. This is how they had preserved their lineages and their lands throughout the centuries. But in the modern era, they cast aside those prejudices. And we find, therefore, that Andrew entered into relationships with an Epstein and a Maitlis, for example. Two people who, the former prejudice aristocracy and royalty, would never have touched with a barge pole out of sheer prejudice against their kind. And we know that the likes of Epstein and Maitlis and their fellows are enemies of the monarchy, because the monarchy is, to their mind, anti-Semitic. But of course, if the monarchy was really anti-Semitic, and if Andrew was really anti-Semitic, then he would have had nothing to do with an Epstein or a Maitlis. So we see that his downfall was purely down to his lack of prejudice. And this relates quite clearly to Nietzscheanism, to the order of rank, and to the pathos of distance, as we have frequently mentioned in these talks. And that the Nietzschean conception of politics is generally one of a monarchy deeply invested in its prejudices. And so it should be.